Hello and welcome to this video. This is the round recap video for round 11 of this year's Tata Steel tournament. Before I'm going to go for the games of this round, I want to make a little announcement that the round 12 and very likely also round 13 videos will not be released as a video, but rather be done via a live stream. So I'm using the YouTube live stream function, and this will be on Saturday 10 p.m. Central European Time, 4 p.m. US East Coast, the usual time that also the Monday live streams are happening. And you will see that on YouTube. So if you are a YouTube subscriber, you will see this live show announced and being part of your subscription feed. I'm probably going to do those kind of things more often. I think it's an interesting way to interact with the audience and the subscribers, and will probably also improve the overall quality of this kind of video. At the end, it will be archived because it allows for interaction, questions, and so on. At least I want to try that out. Okay, so we're going to start with the games of this round. And I'm not quite sure about the order. Like I usually start with the less interesting games and work my way up there. It's not such a clear order this time. The games were, all kind of interesting. So I'm just going to start with Mamedyarov Caruana, just without... Okay. Wrong click there. Mamedyarov Caruana. Not that this was the least interesting game. It's just that this time it's difficult and I'm just going by chance. Okay. This game was a C3 Sicilian. If you would have given me like 10-15 shots at guessing the opening of this game, I probably wouldn't have gotten it right. So Mamedyarov is surprising Caruana a little bit by playing e4 in the first place. And then he even goes for the C3 Sicilian, which is not at all fashionable at the highest level. And must have come as a surprise, really. Okay, Caruana plays with knight to f6. And Mamedyarov goes for a normal setup. This e6 d6 line against after knight f6 is one of the main options for black against c3 Sicilian, and something that can be really heavily recommended for many players, also because it is playable from various move orders, even if you play 2e6. Like if we go back, we have this c3 Sicilian, but also this. And again, after c3, this is also an option from this move order. So you don't need a separate variation, which can happen if you, for example, have something in mind like this to play. Then if you play 2e6 after knight f3, e6, c3, you would need a different Sicilian. And here, a different answer. And here the same thing is usable from 2 knight f3 and c3, and also from 2 c3. Okay, just a little side note there. Mamedyarov now plays the move bishop d3, and also played this relatively quickly. This move is not at all popular. It has never been, because it has a reputation of not leading to anything. And the mysterious thing is, Caruana now took, which is a normal move. D takes, knight b4. All this is known. And usually white players don't go for that line, because after this you get an endgame that looks really not very attractive for white. It's really a mysterious opening choice. Mamedyarov all of a sudden going for e4 and then playing this this harmless looking line with white's king being somewhat wrong on d1 and black getting good play with his active knights. Sometimes it's hard to piece together the rationale behind some opening choices. Well, here white has to be precise to not be worse. And yeah, it didn't really work out so much. Yeah? Like here, black is somewhat more comfortable already. Took that piece, and now black took on e4. And the black advantage is pretty clear. He's got the two bishops, and he's got that active knight on e4. The knight he will, yeah, he will get traded,
Check.
but the bishop pair remains. And we very often have to compare the bishops with the extra bishop that the side with the bishop pair has with the knight that the other person has. And here, well, look at this knight. His knight is worse than the bishop, quite clearly, especially if we compare it now. The bishop is on that fantastic d5 square, and the knight on d2 is not doing very much. Here, white has problems. And Mamedyarov was really struggling a lot, trying to, here trade some pawns. The situation here is it's a very important crossroads now of the game. Caruana decides to push that pawn to a3, which is a difficult decision. He also could have played bishop to e7 and just continue to build up. Difficult to say. In the game, it ultimately didn't net so much, but it's really tough to say if bishop e7 would have been a lot better. Black is keeping an advantage here, no doubt about it. But now with this knight regrouping to b1, it really felt like white was getting some relief. Yeah, this is a nice little tactic. Bishop takes b3 for a2. So we've got some trades here. And black is winning a pawn. However, the problem is that the b5 pawn is as good as lost. Yeah, and it happened after a couple of moves that this pawn really dropped. And white keeps this active king. In the whole process here, black is winning the g pawn. We'll see that here, winning the g pawn. But the white b pawn is very, very dangerous. It seems that white has enough here for a draw in any case. And with moves like rook g5 or bishop c5, the draw would probably be relatively easy to get with black. Black really has to be a little bit cautious here already, that you don't underestimate the b pawn. All of a sudden, white gets that queen. The thing is that Caruana now played rook g1, and this was probably an oversight because there wasn't any reason to go for what happens next. As I said, bishop c5. If you go here, for example, the thing is after b6, black can just take. Yeah, this will be a draw. You will get the pawn here, and white has no winning chances here whatsoever. This happened, and now, funny enough, this move is possible. Rook takes f8. King takes b6, and even though the pawn is 2 steps away, still 2 steps away, the black rook has a huge problem here. There is no clear way to stop the pawn. The way it went, Caruana played the best possible line. Rook to g5, threatening this. White covered that. And now back, so that rook b1 is threatened again. Knight d2, however. Looking at that b1 square. Rook d1. Yeah, this is the key thing. The knight now is attacked. If white protects it, something like this,
check.
Rook c1 is saving the day. So what white did is, of course, b7. Yeah, and now black can take the knight. White
check.
Gets the queen. King g7. Yeah, and this position is a draw. Despite what the computer might tell you. I checked it with engines, and they all give like plus 2.5. This is this well-known weakness. Very little weaknesses the computers still have, but one weakness is that they don't understand the concept of a fortress. Here, black has an easy draw by just putting the rook on d5, or alternatively on f5, and nothing ever happens, which is very evident for a human, as the white king can never really help in any way. And black is just sitting there and shuffles. There's absolutely no way forward. For example, you can put the rook on f5, pawn on h5, and then play king g7, h7, till hell freezes over. Very easy draw. In the game, they actually gave after a couple of checks, the game ended here. So a slightly mysterious game and a mysterious opening by Mamedyarov, who played that very non-testing variation. Caruana certainly got some chances, but ultimately couldn't break through. And after this oversight, rook takes f8. He was, I think, a bit lucky that he got away with a draw there. Okay, the next game to check is what are we going to check next? Okay, let's go roughly with let's say how interesting the games were. This is Vailly against Karjakin. Okay, so this game from the opening already didn't look so exciting. We've got a Berlin, and Vailly is playing this rook e1 line, which has the most solid reputation within the Berlin, and the Berlin is quite solid in the first place. This is the most conservative way to play it with white. We have the straights on the e-file and symmetrical pawn structure. This maneuvers knight c3 and d5. It's getting a little life into the position at least, but still we see a position where everything there looks normal. We get a completely symmetrical pawn structure. And this is very often the most important thing to check if you want to know if a game will get some kind of exciting conflict. If the pawn structure is completely symmetrical like this, it's very unlikely that something exciting will happen. In the game, we had a bunch of fairly normal looking moves. They both developed their pieces. Rooks got connected. f4 was an interesting try by the Chinese player, maybe going for f5. We see that after those moves, it is Karjakin's move. And now here, he had the chance to play in a very sound, conservative way by playing f5, keeping the structure symmetrical. An important point is that the white knight is on e3 in this position and does not have any quick regrouping to use e5 or g5. Both sides have a weakness on e4, but I think the white knight is not very well placed. It can try for some kind of very long regrouping, but even if it comes to e5, black has the knight back on c6 or can try to regroup himself in some way like this. This is a very equal position. White here cannot reckon on much or anything at all. Karjakin didn't do that. He played the move knight to c6, and in the process I think maybe underestimated the white f5 push. Maybe he also wanted to kind of still continue to play a little bit, give white something to get a fight going. I'm just speculating here because objectively speaking this doesn't look so hot. White gets the f5 pawn back now and has clear play on the f-file. The difficult thing for me in this game is, if we go to this position, it is very obvious that white has an advantage. He will win the d5 pawn in the game. We had the queens here traded. He will win the d5 pawn and has this pressure on f7. This can be covered. The difficult thing for the analyst here with limited time is to give some kind of statement if white could have won the game. And I'm spoiling things here. It ends in a draw. I'm not really sure. there wasn't a clear moment where, and I have to trust the computer a little bit there, the computer doesn't find anything. Yeah, it just gives white a constant advantage of roughly a pawn, which is kind of understandable because he's a pawn up. And white has this pressure. However, we have opposite colored bishops and clear tendencies for blockades. Yeah, for example, here the bishop blocks the d pawn, the rook covers this, and as long as this kind of a setup is existing, it's not clear what white should do. And
Check.
I think it is a draw really, but I wouldn't say it's totally impossible to maybe
Check.
that maybe someone finds an idea for white, but
Check.
this person would need to invest some time to figure out
Check.
if there's some genius
Check.
maneuver that white can use. In
Check.
the game, Valle tried quite a
Check.
bit, but there was never a moment
Check.
where Kayakin really could have lost the game. Yeah. To scroll a little bit forward.
Check. Check.
The problem is that this pawn isn't worth anything. Yeah, it's just on d6 the bishop is blocking everything, and the h pawn is also not
Check.
not being so
Check.
dangerous in short order. Here they agree to a draw. Yeah, Kayakin allowing f5 was risky, but it seems that there was probably no moment for Valle to get something very substantial. Even though I wouldn't rule it out, yeah, that someone finds some great resource there that engines don't see immediately, or I didn't see immediately. Okay, the next game to check is Adams Giri. Yeah, Adams has gotten a win in against Kayakin in the last round. I think he's happy to finally win a game in this event. He still doesn't have a good result, but still. And Giri, he needs a win somewhere to get back into the race for first place. So we'll see what happens in this game. In fact, Giri plays a Sicilian, and after bishop b5 plays g6 here. The interesting point is that he takes now with the b pawn. This variation had a very slightly dodgy reputation for quite a long time, because it was believed that white in many cases gets an advantage in the center that black cannot so adequately meet. However, in recent years is a bit much, but maybe like last 1-2 years, that line, however, gained a little bit of momentum and was used successfully, especially by some Chinese players, Valle, for example. We'll see something of that. Or we see a game reference with the Chinese prodigy. Yeah, here black plays knight to h6. That looks strange. But there is a method to this madness. No, seriously, knight h6 is a good move. Knight f6 is not seen so much because this line is believed to be comfortable for white. Yeah, white is switching queen over to h4, sometimes has bishop to h6. That doesn't look so hot. Knight h6 has a different idea. After c3, castles, white players very often went for d4. Let's say 15-20 years ago, black setup here was with f6, knight c3, knight f7, let's say bishop here, d6, this kind of thing. This is actually something that I have played a bit in blitz chess. Yeah, I have played the Sicilian Sveshnikov for some years, and when they played bishop b5, I sometimes played this setup because it is an interesting way to play. Yeah, black has the two bishops for long-term ideas and a very compact center. However, white has more space and probably a slight advantage. Nowadays, however, after d4, the way the Chinese players handle this position is to take and play d5. Quite interesting. The idea is that after e5 there's f6. Black is immediately attacking the white center and tries to yeah, open it up for the two bishops. The results were pretty good. Yeah, so white is probably looking for alternatives there, and Adams plays h3. Yeah, now Giri plays in a very aggressive way. Not f6, not d6, it was f5. Yeah, trying to do something quickly in the center. e5, knight to f7. This is the way the knight goes back into the game. And now interesting setup by Adams. He's not playing d4, which looks very normal, but plays the move d3 in order to answer bishop a6 with c4. So he tries to more blunt this bishop than the bishop on g7. Okay, d6, that is attacked, that's center, and white plays e6. This is the only way to give this setup for white some kind of sting. If you play something like that, black just recaptures and is very happy with his two bishops. Especially this bishop looks very good. Black even has this idea sometimes. g5, g4, very aggressively attacking the knight. Also note that black's development is very, very okay. So e6, far more interesting move. Knight to e5. That was taken. Now it was taken. And white went knight a4. Okay, the white idea is pretty clear. c5 is hanging. So what did Giri do? He played queen to c7. Yeah, so that after knight c5 takes, the queen is covering the bishop. Bishop h6 looks very normal, attacking the rook. Yeah, and here it seems that Giri is making a mistake. He plays a rook to f6, and this move played quite quickly led into trouble. Yeah, Adams now took on e5, giving up the exchange. However, after the capture, knight takes c5, it becomes evident pretty quickly that white has a very nice compensation for this exchange. The knight here is exceptionally strong. It's currently attacking this, covering this. Yeah, black basically has to play bishop c8. That also is a sensible move, really. It's forced, but it's also very sensible looking. The bishop was looking at this protected pawn, completely useless, and from c8 it supports the rook to maybe get rid of that very annoying pawn. However, now after the exchange sacrifice, white had d4 and enjoys a very nice and dangerous position. After d4, black has to avoid the move that he played, after which I think black is close to being lost. It seems that he had to maybe take on d4 or take on b2. The complications are a little bit tough to reliably assess, but something like this, for example, seems playable for black, even though white has a strong initiative. The same thing is applying for the capture on d4 after white just recaptures. Yeah, it's definitely something that black is not very comfortable with defending, but it's what he has to do. He played the move g5, and after that, I think white, after the move bishop g5, queen h5 was a very decent alternative, but white here has a huge advantage. Yeah, queen d6. The move now to keep that big advantage, however, was very difficult to play. The best move now for Adams is the very weird in some way knight d3. Yeah, what is the point of this move? Yeah, white wants to take on e5 with the knight, and it just looks weird because so many pawns are hanging. But whatever black takes, it doesn't lead to anything great. Yeah, let's say queen takes, knight e5. This is, I think, pretty clear that after, let's say, rook takes, rook e1, white's initiative is fantastic. Or if queen takes d4, there is the move rook to d1. Those are the most difficult ones, those slow moves that have no decent answer. Knight f4 is a threat. Or knight e5 for that matter sometimes. Yeah, what is black supposed to play after queen d3? It's really, really hard to tell. Yeah, some bishop move. Okay, white happily takes there. Yeah, knight d3 was probably winning. It's at least what the computer gives. And this was played by Adams. This is leading to a good position for white. I mean, probably still some edge, but it wasn't as convincing as knight d3. Yeah, here Giri only has one move. He has to play e4, which is not something you love to play, but you have to. Yeah, here white has excellent compensation for his exchange, but it is no concrete win. Let's say b3, bishop takes, and yeah, queen h4, something like that. Yeah, white has a pawn for the exchange and lots of pressure. This is hanging. Black's pawn structure is pretty bad, and the bishop here can get to a fantastic square. I mean, this position is nice for white, without any doubt, but it wasn't the best continuation. Sorry, it was the best continuation for black. White is better, but what Giri did is much worse. I'm sorry, I'm confusing myself here. Giri took with the queen on d4. And after that, Adams had a forced win available. It's not easy though. He could have played rook d1 now. And this is winning. However, the reason why it is winning is not so simple. Queen takes, check, check. This is easy. I mean, this he had seen for sure. The problem is, after king to f6, it isn't so self-evident how white is continuing this. He's a rook down, so it is there is need for something concrete. The move is this one, bishop to e3, retreating the bishop, attacking the queen, and it is really not easy to see from the starting position that after, let's say, queen takes, queen h7, this attack is overwhelming. Yeah, there is, for example, after bishop here, then I've got check.
Check.
And this, for example, threatening mate. Or after queen takes, we've
Check.
got the direct mate.
Checkmate.
Yeah, what else is there for black? Something like this.
Check. Check. Checkmate.
Also mate. Yeah, but it is not so easy to see from this position. After the move Adams played, he's got nothing. Just like that. Bishop e3, queen takes, b3, queen b4. The position is still very murky, but objectively speaking, white does not have more than a slight advantage. From a practical point of view, however, this position is still very difficult for black. Yeah, his pawn structure is very bad, and white has also threats against black's king. In fact, the way it went, Adams got this rook active.
Check.
And managed to pick up this pawn. After rook d8, he still could have maintained a pretty nice advantage here with the move queen to b7. That would have been a really good idea. The point is that now after, let's say, queen d5, there is queen takes e7, and white has won another pawn. In the game, he played the move, if we go back, played that move, and now after queen d5, had no way of avoiding the queen trade in a sensible way. They can retreat to c3 or something and continue with queens on, but there is no real point there. Yeah, white does not have any winning chances in this position. Yeah, so in the game he traded, took a7, and here it is clear that we are nearing
Check.
a draw.
Check.
A couple of more moves moves, and here they agreed to a draw. So very lucky in a way draw here for Giri, who played a risky setup, and then with g5 and later queen takes d4, he gave Adams huge opportunities to win the game, which were not taken. Tense game. Okay, the next game to check is Elyanov versus So. In this game, we got a Grunfeld, and Elyanov goes for this line with bishop f4, rook c1. It has a fairly, no, we cannot really say a solid reputation. It does have a solid, sound reputation, but there are also very sharp lines, but also more simplifying strategic lines. The ones that we got here was more one of the strategic ones, let's say. Yeah, here we had these trades, queen takes c5, and white is having nice central control, attacks the queen, and black's queen now has to go to h5. This is white's idea. Yeah, he's going for that end game where he's got a little bit more space due to the pawns and has got the king in the middle already, which can be quite useful because the king participates in the game already. Black's king is on g8. However, if we assess white's potential chances to win the game, getting something more substantial, we can still be quite skeptical about that because black's position is ultimately very solid. Yeah, he's got no weaknesses whatsoever, no pawn weakness, no square weakness. All pawns are back on the 7th rank. Only the bishop has been fianchettoed. So if white has something, it is very minuscule.
Check.
Knight d4 check, king f2. Yeah, that didn't really lead to much, that knight check, but the way this position works is just black wants to trade stuff to organize a little bit better and get the king into the play. As we have seen, he went king f8, king e8 now, and after some moves there, rook ed1 was played for complete rook trade. Yeah, so we got this minor piece ending, and in this ending there were one or two moments where it looked like here we can go a little bit ahead. Yeah, white is able to take this pawn, and here you think, oh wait, isn't that trapped? But it is just about working.
Check.
Yeah, here you see that black is winning a pawn, but the problem is that white has this very good bishop that is helping on both flanks, and with white's king getting active here in a position here, black has no way forward. White is just going up and down with his bishop. You cannot move the knight without activating the white king, and also you cannot win the a pawn. So it is really a drawn ending, even though they played this for quite a while. Understandably so, yeah, why not? But even with the b pawn progress, there is no way forward. Yeah, here they agree to a draw. If we look at this a little bit earlier, yeah, black cannot play this in order to play b2 because there's the a6 pawn. So a fairly solid and in a way logical draw. It was a solid opening, low risk opening that Wesley So ultimately equalized, and at the end it was a draw. Okay, the next game to check is Van Vele Navarra, and I can already promise you that this was an exceptionally wild game. Okay, this is played. Not the most sharp opening ever, or sharpest opening ever, but we will get a very, very, very sharp position shortly. So Navarra goes for c5, knight c6, g6, a very d4 centric approach. And here white To be honest, I don't think that this kind of setup promises white much. This fianchetto, the king side, if black goes for c5, g6. Yeah, here Van Willy has to ask or answer a question. What are you going to do, let's say, after castles, bishop g7? How are you ever going to put something in the center? Difficult to do. Yeah, you can go c3, for example. He didn't want to do something like that. He went d4. So the last opportunity to play this, he went for it. Bishop g7, and now played knight to b3. This is the problem of white's opening here. You cannot maintain that knight on d4 in a sensible fashion. I mean, you can, theoretically speaking, play a move like c3, but that's very, very meek. So the knight went back from the center, and let's say here d6 castles. Black is certainly fine with normal moves, let's say knight f6 or bishop e6, something like that. Navarro, however, felt that time was already right for something more incisive. He played h5, going for h4. And why not? The knights are over here and don't defend against the h-pawn push. Yeah, Van Willy played h3 to be ready to play g4. Yeah, this was something that black could have played. For example, now f5 for a very murky position. Navarro had a different idea. He played bishop to e6, queen to d7, and now went for f5. And this is a move that, when I first saw it, I was thinking, oh wow, that's a wild move. But if you look at this a little bit more closely, you see that this is actually very, very strong. The weaknesses that are created by f5, like the g5 square, are totally irrelevant, yeah, because there is no white piece ever going there. However, the far more important thing is that the f-pawn here is stopping any g4 move, so that the move h4 becomes a very substantial threat. And it is very difficult for white to defend now already. He decided to capture, and again was faced with the threat. Note that white has a hard time here to play h4, as black plays f4 anyway. Yeah, bishop takes here. There's bishop take b2. And black will take that rook. I mean, absolutely no doubt about that. Yeah, like this, for example, knight f6. And black just is material up. It's still very murky, but it's material. Okay, in the game, knight 1 d2 was played, and now, of course, h4. Here, Navarro has gotten a fantastic position here out of the opening. Takes, and now just develop. Knight f6. Knight f3. The knight is coming over to help on the king side, but black can centralize his knight now. Bishop g5, developing, and bishop c4, just attacking the rook. Yeah, what is Van Willy supposed to do? He played rook e1. He's in huge trouble. And here, Navarro probably should have taken on f2. Just grab that pawn and now return. Black's position here is excellent. Yeah, he's got equal material. Yeah, first of all, he has not sacrificed anything for his position, but his position is really great. Yeah, the knight on e4 is strong. He has a much better pawn structure. He's got the better king. Black will castle long, while the white king on h2 feels very insecure. This position is probably winning for black. What he did also looked perfectly normal, but amazingly allowed some play for Van Willy. Very unexpected. Yeah, he took on b2. Looking completely normal, this move. But now Van Willy has an interesting defensive concept, and very nice that he found this idea. He played knight b to d2. Yeah, what's happening here? Let's look at this step by step. If black now decides to take the rook, then after queen takes, white is actually in good shape. The rook is hanging with check and the bishop is hanging. This is something that we can discard immediately. So what is the problem here? This one. The queen is trapped. That wasn't a blunder by Van Velde. He sacrificed the queen. And Navarra played knight c3. Well, if you get this offer, it's hard to refuse it. Even though black could have played, and it's something to take into account, he could have played this. Just take the bishop and now play this position, which is equal material, but very nice for black. Two bishops, still the better structure. White king is insecure. But it's very difficult to be so modest, let's say, when you can instead, after knight c3, win the queen. Okay, takes and takes. Funny. White only has 2 minor pieces for the queen, but he's got an initiative. This is attacked and knight takes d6 is threatened.
Check.
So this happened. Knight takes d6 and king f8. White has compensation here, clearly. It's not clear that it's enough, but it is obvious that he has some compensation because the pieces are very, very active. And it is very difficult to say, but I think the way it is played, it was very, very human. What Navarra did, he played queen to c8, the queen was attacked, bishop f4. Yeah, and here he played the move e5, which I think is, again, very human move. The computers want to defend with some, less obvious moves, like rook to h7, something mysterious like this, which no human player probably would ever play. I think the move e5, here the move e5 is a very natural human choice. And it leads to an even crazier material configuration. Knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes, knight takes, bishop takes. And it's actually difficult to determine what the material count is. White has 3 minor pieces, which quite often is roughly equal to a queen plus a rook. And black has queen and 2 rooks. So this would mean that black is a huge chunk of material up. However, the position is already, if you give this to your computer, it's a draw. Why? Because white's pieces are so active that white will get some sort of perpetual on the black king. In the game, black played rook to h7. And here, Van Velde already could have forced the draw with bishop d6 check. Black has no way out of this. Many ideas to try to avoid the draw lead to pretty quick losses. King g6, for example, is killed by rook d6 check. Something like this, for example, is winning for white, even though this is not a line that is super obvious for a human player. What you can see is that black has a hard time making a move here. Don't forget that this is still hanging on the rook. Something like this or this just wins the queen. Bishop d6 already was a draw, but Van Velde took on a8. I'm not sure if he had seen that it's a draw or not. In the game now, white has 2 bishops for the queen. Really funny. But white's remaining pieces coordinate quite well. And I think it should be enough to draw, which also happened. Now the bishops entered and rook e1. It's difficult now to fend off all those ideas.
Check, 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 check.
And the draw agreed. There is no way out of the checks. At the end, the draw. The end of a pretty amazing struggle, a big fighting game where both sides really did a great job. Van really completely misplayed the opening and was in a losing position. But still, you need to have that toughness to defend a bad position like this. Okay, the next game I want to look at, we only have 2 games left, is Tomaszewski with white against Dingliren. I'm sorry for mispronouncing. Yeah, for this game, I don't want to dig so deep. I want to make a couple of general remarks. We have a Catalan opening,
Check.
and Ding goes for that bishop b4 check line, which is popular nowadays. White is playing in the most active way with bishop f4, knight c3, never spending a tempo on the cover of that pawn. Okay, if you don't cover it, I'll take it. Yeah, what Ding is doing is he's snatching a pawn, basically, and keeps this for the moment with bishop a6. In the course of the game, White gets very active pieces for his pawn. We see here, knight over to e3. Yeah, White has a good center and active pieces. However, Black gets that counterplay in with e5. And here we see one issue with White's position. In this position here, you only have one idea, and this is what he plays now. White is a pawn down and has to get something going. And this means to take and play f4, get compensation in the center. White does have compensation, and I would fully understand if a white player here would be optimistic about his chances, because, well, it looks nice, that pawn chain, there's activity, the bishop is opened up, all this is true. Yeah, and White's position is okay. One thing, however, is important to understand. In the process, White had to advance his pawns quite a bit. White's king shelter is seriously weakened, and this long term can lead to problems. Black's king position is perfectly safe if you want to compare it. Yeah, White centralized and won that pawn back there on c6. But Black in return got a fantastic knight on d3. Now, Black is keeping this active piece, and it's difficult for White to make any headway. Material is equal. He won one pawn back, but White's play is not so apparent. He's got active pieces, active knights there, but it doesn't really get much. There's no clear plan, let's say. Now he went for this g4, attacking on the king side. I think that was prompted by Black's idea of pushing his pawn. But with going g4, you weaken the king side and the king position even more. Ding is invading there on d3 with the rook, doubling, and White is pushing. Yeah, he's gotten the pawn back. That's nice. But don't forget, those pawns cannot go backwards. Black is very nicely centralized. And I think, in fact, Black is a little bit better because his king is safe while White's king not so much. Yeah, Black is giving up a pawn there to activate.
Check.
And around here I want to look at one or two alternatives again. Here Queen g2 was possible, and this is still probably okay for an about equal position. We've already had a couple of trades, so the White certainly somewhat weakened king position is not such a huge factor with all the trades. This was played in the game, also not particularly bad. rook b8, and queen g2. The problem is this position is very uncomfortable to play. White has to look at all kinds of things, back rank issues and invasion of all the pieces. Knight to e4 and rook b3. White is a pawn up still, but it's very difficult to keep the position coordinated. Rook e1, queen to b5, and probably white should have gone now for rook e2, trying to keep that and ask black how he intends to further improve the position. There are ways to do that. Rook d3 for queen b3, for example. White is still in some uncomfortable situation, but he still should be able to hold it. This was played, however. Knight to d4 by Tomaszewski. Already had time issues. After this, black plays queen to b4. And here, this pawn is hanging, that rook is hanging, and that knight is hanging. And this is too much. Now white is lost. It's just like that. Queen e4, rook takes b2. That pawn is dropping, and all the initiative and better coordination that black has continues to exist. f6, final try. Queen d6. And now, white is already lost here. There are simply too many problems made here. This was played, and this loses very quickly, but there was really no way to save it. Rook b1 is a nice little shot, after which this is threatened. And something like this drops a full knight. So a win here for the Chinese number one over Evgeny Tomaszewski, who's really having a hard time in this tournament. It feels like he's not in his best possible shape. But a good win here for Ding, who played a solid game. Mostly keeping a well-coordinated position, while white had some weaknesses, and this ultimately got to him. Okay, the final game to check is Carlsen Hu Yifan. And the game here by the world champion and the best female player, it was mostly about one particular position. We have to be perfectly honest there. We got a Petrov defense, a Russian defense by Hu Yifan. She had played this earlier in the event against Caruana, it was, I think, without any problem. And the same line here now is discussed in this game as well with knight c3. Okay, normal moves. b3. Not the most commonly seen setup, but it is something that has been played before in some games. Bishop f6. White goes h3, g4. King to b8, rook e1. All looking completely normal. Both sides centralize and so on. Does white have any advantage? No, not really. E-file doubled. Now knight d4. Traded everything. Bishop d7. And now the rooks get traded. And you really wonder,
check.
Is there ever anything happening in this game? Yes. Mate threat, but she saw it. Of course. So, well, the position is just equal. It's what it is. But of course, Carlsen is continuing and tries the odd thing here and there. If anybody, white has a symbolic advantage there with this active queen, but it's not something that should ever be converted into a point. All this is, I think, not changing much.
Check.
Now we see even bishops traded. White has a slightly more
Check.
active queen, but this is ever going to be enough to win a game? Hard to believe. Yeah, it's not much to comment upon.
Check. Check.
It is just very, very equal. Yeah, in this position now, Hu Yifan could easily have moved the queen somewhere. Yeah, for instance, queen to e7, and then they continue this. However, she
Check.
decided to trade queens, and I wonder how long. A couple of minutes.
Check.
Okay, king takes, and now she played very quickly the move h5. This position here is quite interesting to look at if you have some time on your hands and just go through various possibilities. At the end, you will see that here in this position, only one move, and only one, is drawing the game. White has winning ideas here with invasion here and invasion here. And what black has to do is she had to play the move a5. After that, it is a draw. For example, king d4, king e6, and there's no way forward. If white is trying something like that, for example, like this and before, then black is just going to ignore that, because after the capture, black can stay. There is no way forward whatsoever for white. If you, as white, let's say, try to do something here on the queen side with a6 and so on, then king d5 is happening and you're going to probably lose the game. The other try here after a5 would be like b4, trying to enter like this. But again, black can just ignore that. Yeah, something like this. And nothing happens. If white tries to take, and black is just staying. Yeah, the move a5 here, instead of this, would have drawn the game. And it's a very logical result after like 40 moves of not much happening. Yeah, but she played h5. And the tragic is that after king b4, black's lost. It's just losing. Yeah, and we'll see in the game why. It's a very straightforward way of playing. It enters, and now b4, b5. Nothing that black can do. Had to take twice, king up to c7, c3, and here she already resigned. Yeah, the thing is, black is moving the king, goes up, and c6. And this win is very easy. White will just pick up all the pawns. So what a tragic end of the game. And there was absolutely nothing happening. Yeah, if we again go back.
Check, check.
There was nothing happening. But here, that single mistake of h5 instead of a5 costs the game. Yeah, it seems that, as I said in an earlier video, that Hu Yifan now probably has some problems with keeping up with those strong opponents day after day, round after round, and maybe this is one reason for that lapse of focus in this particular situation. She of course is totally capable of playing this correctly, but it gets probably more and more difficult after all those rounds. A very important window for Carlsen in this event. He is on a +5 score now, very nice score, and is leading by 1 point ahead of Caruana. So he has excellent chances to win this tournament. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure to join me on that Saturday live show in the evening European time. You get this announcement in your YouTube subscription feed. Okay, thanks for watching.